All right, Mary Kay, stop me if you've heard this before. The Browns need wide receivers. It seems like we talk about it every single year. They tried to address the problem a few years ago when they drafted a bunch of them, including Corey Coleman with their first pick in 2016. But still, here we are. The Browns going into another draft, another round of free agency, and they need wide receivers.
You know what? They really do. I mean, you cannot count on a lot of the guys that they picked in that 2016 draft. I mean, you have to really look at Ricardo Lewis and think, you know, does he have a future with this football team? Even Corey Coleman to a certain extent, unless he really steps it up. So they're going to have to look for more receivers in free agency and the draft. It's not a great free agency class, but one guy, and I wrote about this on Sunday in my Hey Mary case, is Terrell Pryor. Will he be coming back? And I think that the Browns will go after Terrell Pryor, and I think he would like to be back here.
Yeah, and he has a lot to prove. He's big, obviously, we know that. He put up 1,000 yards 2 years ago, then he goes to Washington, gambles on himself, loses that gamble, gets hurt. He's got a chance to come back to Cleveland, or he's familiar with Hugh Jackson. It would be interesting to see him paired with Josh Gordon. Maybe you can move Corey Coleman into the slot. Todd Haley, I'm sure, would love to have two big targets like that.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, that's been a long-time dream of Terrell and Josh Gordon. They're very good friends. They want to play together, both on the outside. So like you said, they would move someone else into the slot in that situation. And Hugh Jackson knows how to get the best out of Terrell Pryor. You know, I think this is a good fit for him, just from a scheme standpoint and from the fact that Hugh Jackson likes him and believes in him. And last year, you look at Washington, he did not have good production, 20 catches, 240 yards, but he suffered from an ankle injury all year long, underwent surgery. He's back on the mend now.
Now, Corey Coleman has a lot to prove. This is kind of a big prove-it year for him. It's year 3. He's struggled with injuries. He's struggled with off-field issues in his first 2 seasons. This guy has to prove that he can be a legitimate receiver in the NFL.
Well, what's the lasting memory, the last thought that we have about Corey Coleman right now?
The drop in Pittsburgh.
The drop in Pittsburgh, and, you know, him, you know, basically, you know, being head down in tears, you know, that's a big moment right there that could have been, you know, it could have changed things a little bit for the franchise. Now, they, you know, they still would have the #1 overall pick, but they wouldn't have the stigma of going 0-16. So that's a big moment right there, and he basically blew it. And it kind of sums up what his career here has been like so far. But it's also been marred by a broken hand in each of the last 2 seasons. Hugh Jackson asked him to step up in a big way in 2017. He wasn't able to do that. And you know what? It's make it or break it time for Corey Coleman.
Especially if they get the quarterback situation solved. Then there's absolutely no excuses for this guy.
Again, not a big free agent market. I think that in addition to whatever they do in free agency, they are going to have to look long and hard at some of those receivers in the draft.
All right, we of course will cover all of free agency at cleveland.com/Browns.